this is about a case with a young lady. She was about 25 years of age, and she was arrested for, it was a felony arrest for drugs. Here's how it opens up. The attorney called me. We were sitting at lunch. He says, Romell, I have a case. I don't know what to do. It really doesn't look good. This is a young girl. She's never been arrested before. I'm not sure which way I'm going to go with this. And I says, well, what do you know about it? Well, there was a warrant. The officers, in the course of the warrant, arrested the young lady. She was among 6 people who were present at the arrest with a table full of, I don't know, they probably had some drugs nobody even knew of. In any event, there were a lot of drugs. And so she's a part of this so-called ring. So here's how this begins to develop. So I says to the attorney, I says, well, gee, it looks like they got a cold. He says, yeah, I really don't know what to do. Maybe because she's never been arrested before, I might be able to get some sort of a plea. So he says, I don't know if I'm going to need you or not. I says, listen, let me take a look at it. Give me your material. Yeah, it's not much to give to you. I mean, this looks like almost like open and shut. I really feel for her. So what the attorney suggests to me is, well, listen, could you just at least talk to her? Just talk to her. I don't know what else that can really be done. Sure, I'll talk to her. I says, do you have any material for me? He says, well, no, it looks pretty much like open and shut. I go to interview the young lady. And as she's talking, she doesn't really know much about the criminal justice system, but as she's talking, she mentioned something about being held by an officer downstairs. And then she said, and they went and they got that thing and they were banging on the doors. I said, what thing? Banging on the doors? What are you talking about? I don't know, something where they banged the door down. Bingo, something rang. And I says, oh no, wait a minute. You mean a ram? She says, yeah. I says, and where were you when they had the ram? She says, I was downstairs. I said, you were not in the apartment? She says, no. I says, well, the report says that you were in the apartment. She says, I was not in the apartment. I was being held downstairs. So I said, gee, that sounds strange. Doesn't make sense. You got arrested. You wasn't upstairs. You were being held downstairs by an officer. Here's what happened. In talking to her, that was the first time that I was made aware that there was actually a no-knock warrant. And when I heard her talk about the ram, the fact that the apartment, those apartments on 4 to 5 floors that were simultaneously rammed, she said she was downstairs. And I asked her, did anyone see you downstairs? She told me the people that she had spoken to while she was downstairs being held by the police. So what I needed to know from those people, as of course I interviewed them, was whether or not they too heard the ram, and at that time, was she still downstairs? Obviously, if she was still downstairs, she could have been upstairs. And this was, I think, a 3rd floor apartment, the closest to the ramming. And there were multiple police units there. She says there were about maybe 20 or more officers present, some seemingly relieving others in the whole process of bringing people down to the radio cards and so forth, taking them into custody, and of course securing the securing the paraphernalia and so forth that was available in the apartment, actually seizing it for court purposes. Now, is she lying to me, or something's not right? So I did some canvassing, because I'm trying to shorten this. I did some canvassing, and what I found out were there were 3 people who remember seeing her one or two were going to work. There were others who were home, and they heard the loud noise. Some had been in and out, seeing her, and all this time she's downstairs, and the officers holding her. And that makes sense. If there's going to be a no-knock warrant, one of the things officers are concerned about is the safety of anybody else that might be in the vicinity. So they're going to clear the area. Now, presumably they was holding her because she is associated with one of the persons who was found in the apartment. And as it turned out, it was her younger brother. This gets really interesting. Bear with me, please, bear with me. This is heavy. This could happen to you. So, as things go on, I get an opportunity to interview her brother. Her brother made a very interesting, of course I had to get permission to do that because he had his defense attorney. Brother made a very interesting announcement to me. He mentioned that what the police did, I thought it was a little unusual, but what the police did was, the police were taking pictures of the persons who were in the apartment. He took pictures of everyone in the police took pictures of everyone that was in the apartment. So as I'm getting this information and I'm disseminating this information to the attorney, I says to him, I says, okay, listen, the prosecutor's going to have to turn over those pictures if in fact they are available. And if in fact they took those pictures, they couldn't conceivably have a picture of her in that particular space where those pictures was taken, unless in fact she was there. Guess what? Ha ha! Guess what? She was not there. They could not produce those pictures. So to make a long story short, what ultimately happened was that case was dismissed. But here's the thing. Somebody out there has had something like this happen to them. Perhaps, I think I can venture to say more than one person at the very least. And so people sometimes wonder, well, why bother to get a private investigator involved? Because the attorney is not always equipped, at least in terms of immediate experience, on the street in particular, to kind of ferret out these different things. Some of the nuances with the different law enforcement agencies, some of the things that they do. The attorneys are not always familiar with that. And so, when you have a private investigator involved, one that's reasonably competent, you don't have to be the greatest investigator of all time. You just have to really be interested in what you're doing. You will get results. And hopefully when you do, they are favorable and they are helpful. So I told you I wasn't going to talk long. I'm going to cut you guys some slack. I can be a little long-winded at times. Thanks for listening. Dream with purpose, act with intent.